Hi, and welcome to this new video about Copilot, in which we will expand a little bit the example of the brainstormer. And that is because what I showed you before, the using of instruction file to simulate agents, is basically a trickery. It is good because it worked for a long time, because instruction file were an addition to the GitHub that appeared a long time ago. But now we have a better solution. So it is simple to use. You can simply put all the role you want, and then choosing the edit mode or agent mode, you will trigger one or the other mode. But as you see from the previous video, when you focus too much on the rules of the engagement, such as ask one question at a time and so on, it will limit the edit mode, because even if you are in edit mode and asked to brainstorm, it will start writing the question directly in the file. It's not something you like. So the problem is, in the previous example, the code mixes rules and in the structure of the file. And this means that the rule that it's specific to the moment in which I want Copilot to ask me question to refine the model, it is something that is basically different. It's a typical interaction I want to trigger on or off. So for an instruction file to be effective, it is much more better to include only the structure file. So you need to understand that all you write in the instruction file got injected into the prompt each time you work with that file. And the rules for brainstorming, it's not a part of the structure or the iteration that you want to do always on an idea file. My software process of editing the idea is composed sometimes of that part in which the large language model asks me question, but other time I want the large language model just to edit the file. So I need to use another part of Copilot that I showed you in this video. First of all, the instruction file is changing. I referring into the instruction file only to the structure file. So the instruction file for the idea file reference only the structure of the file. That simply tells me which is the structure of the file, okay? So generally speaking, the instruction file are very, very short in my real world example, because they reference only a set of other files that simply define what I'm expected to be in this kind of file, which are the rules you need to always apply when you have this file into the prompt, okay? So if I'm uttering an idea, the basic thing I want is you need to follow a structure. So whenever you have an idea file, that structure got injected. And it is good because I want the structure to be performed. So the rule is rule of the process. So they are not part of this kind of instruction file, okay? These rules are rules for the brainstorming process. And as I told you before, I don't want it to be injected every time I work with an idea file. I want to be injected only when I want to brainstorm my idea. So the first thing, I modify the name, and it's idea brainstormer. And then I go to the gear, and I'm going to create a mode. As usual, I want a custom chat mode file. I want to include in this repository, and I call brainstorm. And now it is creating a file that is called chat mode. I can simply save. And even if I have the default one, you see you have now in the bottom part, agent, ask, and edit. These are the standard mode. And now I have my new brainstorm mode that I can trigger only when I want to brainstorm my ideas. Now, let's start with a description, help brainstorming a software idea into a feature list. And another interesting thing, it has a model section. So you see, if you say model, you have a nice helping that help you select the model. And this is if you want to specify a specific model to use for the brainstormer mode. Usually when I create chat mode, I do not specify model, because I let the user, I want to be able to switch between model, but it is important that you know that you can choose some model you want to use. So such is It's something like, hey, when you brainstorm, I suggest I want you to use this model. For now, do not use this. The important thing is tools. If the tools section is usually empty and you have a configure tools, and you will present it with the usual UI that show all the tools, the basic tool that Copilot has, plus all the tools that are available from extension you can have installed, and all the MCP server you can have. So I want to be able to edit file. Clearly, it needs to be able to edit file. And you can search a section, fetch, and you can allow the model to do what you want to do. So in this mode, the more tool you give, the more capable is the agent. Okay, but now you need to understand that it's of paramount importance that you use only the minimum number of agents you want, because the agent is more focused. So as an example, I do not need to searching inside my code because I'm focused on a file. I don't want it to run command because I'm not using terminal. So probably edit file could be a viable solution. You can also make create file or create directory, but for now, edit file can be enough. So this is the minimum situation for a tool. I want the tool, the brainstorm mode, to help brainstorming. It can edit file, and now I need to create a prompt. Well, the content of this file is usually small because I just use, this is a brainstorming section, the idea file is in the context, and follow the rule into the idea rule file. And the idea brainstormer is where I create the rules, and I'm trying to say, after the user answered the question, proceed in proposing a modification of the idea file to reflect the answer. As usual, you need to turn up the prompt in the way that it will be more suitable for your use. Now, let's see it in action if everything works. As usual, I start with a simple sentence. I'm choosing the brainstorm, okay? So I'm choosing the new mode, brainstorm mode. I have my likely idea in the markdown and say start brainstorming. So now you need to understand that mode file are a recent introduction to GitHub Copilot. As you can see, the model is answering me with long answer. It is maybe good, but it is not following the rules. So as usual, you always show chat debug view, and you need to understand which is the prompt that passed to Copilot. As you can see, if you scroll down, you have you're an expert AI programming assistant working with, when asked your name, you must respond, blah, blah, blah. So there is a big prompt file where this is all that get authored by GitHub Copilot. And this is the prompt that helps to follow the instruction of the user. And then is the user. You have some environment info. So it said it is Windows, and you can use PowerShell. It is important because the agent can do thing. And it gives the general structure of the project. So it is interesting because in this project, I have only my structure of the backlog. And if you have backlog and code, probably this is not good because the structure will contain code. But yeah, that's the user active file. I need a CLI-based tool to interact with the large language model. So this is the content of my file. The user content current file is, so it is indeed understanding which is the current file, the current date, it is the agent, and start brainstorming. See attachment above for file content. As you can see, if you look at the brainstorm chat mode, it has some content like this is a brainstorming session in which blah, blah, blah. If I'm going this into the structure and say I want to search something, yes, the ideas file is on the content, follow rule, but this file is not included. So it seems now that the mode actually does not automatically include reference file. it is pretty much clear because it does not use my rule file reference, and it is clear from this. So that's a limitation that probably will be removed by when I'm starting working with mod file. I find that the content of the reference file is not included, but this is not a big problem. Okay, so you can just copy and paste here. Okay, now I'm not referring to the same file, but I can also I could leave the reference file here, and I can also so I leave the reference, because if if Copilot will make this work, I can just remove what is under this, or you can simply remove it. It's not important. But for now, if you create a mod file, you are at the date of today forced to include everything inside the file, because the referenced file does not seem to be automatically included. It's a limitation that can be will be removed in the future. So now let's start again and start brainstorm. Now that I've changed my brainstorm chat mode, okay, now it is acting as I'm expected it to act. So making me a question. What is the main problem or pain point you want to solve? I want agents to be able to call an LLM with a CLI without complex interfaces. And okay, this is the standard way you are working with. So okay, and as you can see, it is following my rules. So I specified in the brainstorm that you made me a question. After the question, you should modify the file. And so now the brief description. Next question, what are the primary user? Human operator, automated script, other software agents, then automated scripts, rarely used by a human operator, because the human operator is not supposed to work with the clay. So another question, another reasoning, and another modification. Okay, I can keep or modify the file. The CLI idea is always kept in the scope. Next question. So as you can see, the conjunction with the instruction file that reference structure. So it knows how the structure should be. And a chat mode in which I put the rule of the interaction. It makes a really powerful agent. Okay. Now there are still things that are not correct. So the structure is the idea file should follow the structure. Each section is a level 1 title, start with the hash. But for some reason, it is not followed, because my idea file does not contain the correct markdown. But yeah, okay. It is not a problem. Also, if you want to focus this kind of structure, you can reinforce this maybe in the brainstorm. Okay. But actually, that's the problem, because the brainstorm file does not correctly reference other files. And this is because probably while the instruction file have the purpose to injecting information inside the prompt, always, a chat mode is a set of rules that the agent should follow. So it is normal that it should be focused on the process. Okay. But well, it is working. I can just slightly modify the file on my own and proceed. And so next question, what are the most important tasks of type of request? Generic string prompts. So I don't think that it has something that is not okay, the core functionalities. Okay. Are there any specific requirement our response to be returned? plain text, and so on. So that is interesting. And okay, next question, should the CLI support an additional configurable model, prompt in place, logging off, request and response? I can always skip the previous answer or undo. And I just need it to be able to configure address and token for LiteLM proxy, because I'm using a lot LiteLM proxy. So for this first version, I want this to work this way. Okay. And it continues. As you can see, it is too long, the extended description, and probably it does not follow this structure. Again, if you wanted to follow a specific process, everything should be into the brainstorm. So probably it is much more better than you copy everything like this, everything inside the prompt. So this is the rule. Each section is 11.1, ask clarifying idea, rules. And this is file structure, specifications. So again, that can be a limitation that can be removed in the future, or maybe it will remain. For now, remember, if you work with chat mode, probably, and you want something to be clearly enforced, it is best to put in the brainstorm, even if the structure file is injected inside the prompt. So I can again start brainstorm again. So your mileage may vary. This is a new mode. This is a new feature of GitHub Copilot, so we can expect to be expanded or perfected in the future. Actually, it works pretty much good, and it helps me a lot in guiding me into refining the model. Now, as a proof that you need to include the most information directly into the chat mode and not a referencing file, if I included the file structure specification inside the brainstorm, and I did the same prompt as before, so I've cleared all the file, I left only the first phrase, it makes me a question. I answer with a simple answer, and immediately the structure is correct. So remember, brainstorm is a specific mode in which you should include and not reference instruction directly inside the brainstorm. But it's not a big problem, because you continue to maintain separate file, and you just need to remember that each time you modify maybe the structure, you should also go into the relevant modes and change the prompt for the section. Okay, so it is only a copy and paste of some section directly in the file, as usual, and that can be a limitation that can be removed in the future. So if you really want an agent that helps you brainstorm, using instruction file is a little bit trickery. You can use chat mode. And the chat mode is a separate mode of operation that is added to the ask, edit, and agent mode that are available on the basic Copilot. And it's more like an agent mode. It's a customization of the agent mode with a custom prompt and a set of tools, a list of set of tools that can use, and optionally a model that it should be used. And the syntax is simple, and it has only one important consideration. Referencing other markdown file does not work still. And if you have some structure file or other files that gets injected by instruction files, for example, like in the previous example, the structure of the idea file, remember, if something is important like file structure or routes, they should be added directly into the mod file, into the definition of the mod file. Because mod is a special way that GitHub uses for interacting with your files, and all the important things should be in the mod, in the mod file itself. So if you need to create a mod for a brainstormer, be prepared to copy and paste rules from the separated markdown instruction file to the mod file. And this is because it's a special operation. It may change in the future, but thanks to this simple trick, so you just edit the role file and the structure file separately, and when you create the mod, you just copy and paste. You can easily have a really powerful way to customize your Copilot experience. So in this example, you see that I've created a simple structure where I have the instruction file that inject the structure of the file. So you can use in edit mode for editing your file. But you have also this new brainstorming mode in which you switch to an agent mode with special rule on brainstorming on your file. This gives you a really powerful tool because in Visual Studio, you can really create your own agent that can help you not only in writing code, but also, like in this example, to brainstorm an idea and do other complex stuff that are specific to your need. So I hope you like this video. Bye-bye. I'm waiting you for the next one.